they could leave.
Yeah.
They came for the whole weekend, and they shot, and I remember, and I'm a very introverted person, kind of. You may not seem that way, but I'm not, but I am. And they had been there all weekend, and they hadn't had any time to be in my house, alone. I said, it's time for you to go, because they had cables and they had lights in the living room, and I said, that's it. Pack it up and get the shit out of here and get out of your house. So that's what I said.
And that's 100% true, by the way. She was like, time to go now.
And why is that not in the movie? I'm just wondering.
I'll have to look at the original master tapes.
Yeah, the uncut. But so one of my favorite moments in the film is when you're leaving art to your kids to essentially explain to them how you're feeling. And there's an interesting element to that, because you obviously, as a troublemaker, you have those great cartoons where you were feeling a certain something, it comes out in the work. Now, is that something that you continue to do today in daily life? Is that how we communicate to a certain degree? And is there a kind of just, you need to get stuff off your chest and it just comes out as images, or are you plotting this out?
No, well, my kids are all grown up now, so now and they know me. My oldest daughter, especially Sharon, she shares my sense of humor, so she gets it. I mean, Sharon is very low key, but she knows who her dad is, and she knows my sense of humor. The others, they're cool, they're fine. I mean, now they have their own children, so, and my grandchildren think I'm pretty cool, so. But it's pretty, it's fairly easy to win over the grandchildren. You just treat them nice and buy them lots of gifts, and they love you. So no, but my kids have always, they didn't come around much when I was working. It's odd that here I'm a cartoon maker, and my kids kind of pretty much stayed away when I was working. They didn't seem to have that much interest in my work until they realized the stuff I was drawing, they started to see on television, and then they made the connection. Oh, that's what Dad does, it's those stupid cartoons on television. But no, it's been a great relationship, and it's never been a problem, and it's just been a lot of fun.
I'll answer your question. She didn't answer it.
I thought that was a good answer.
That was a nice
That was
answer.
part of it.
Part of the answer.
But
What's the other part?
He doesn't express himself, and his cartoons are his way of getting out what he's thinking. His cartoons can be really funny, they can be biting, they can be angry, and he still does it to this day. If he's feeling something or if he's annoyed with something, he'll draw a cartoon. And sometimes I might tell him, you might not want to put that on Facebook.
So you post them?
Sometimes he does. Some of them he's gotten, people weren't happy.
Those are my favorite ones, by the way.
Well, one thing, so are you still breaking into Disney every day? And this film has now come out, and what was the...
Yeah, no, actually, they love him now.
You're a legend.
Now they love me. It took them 60 years to fall in love with me. But
well, one thing I do want to ask, because I mean, again, here we are in the theater, and I'm, Sleeping Beauty is my all-time favorite Disney movie, and I mean, we are one step removed. You worked with Walt. This is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
What is, I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this question 1,000 times, but what was it like to work with Walt Disney, and what was the secret sauce other than working with the Floyd Normans and the greatest artists and the greatest musicians and the greatest writers? That obviously is a great place to start. But what was it about him, working with him, and those particular stories that you think still resonate to this day?
Well, this was totally unexpected. When I came to Disney, I just wanted to be a Disney artist. I wanted to be an animator, and the idea of my going to the story department and actually working with the old man was something that I thought would never, ever happen. This was totally unexpected, and that decision was made not by me, because I didn't even want the job. It was made by Walt Disney himself, and I became aware of that in short order when I was told to move upstairs to the story department to rewrite a movie that I had never done this kind of work before. that took me totally by surprise when I was started working the Jungle Book back in 1966, because that came out of nowhere. I knew who made the decision because it was very difficult to get into Disney's story department. Everybody wanted to get into that department. I mean, everybody wanted in, except me. I didn't want the job. So guess who got the job? The guy who didn't want it. Isn't that the way it always works out? But working for the old man was a fantastic opportunity. I look back on it now. I had the opportunity to work with a master storyteller. Walt Disney was a tough boss. He was very demanding. He was a perfectionist. He wanted nothing but top quality. If you could deliver that, he would be happy. And if you didn't deliver, he would be very unhappy. So my job was to keep Walt happy, and I managed to do that. Now, I think a good part of that was I was lucky because I grew up on Disney movies. I listened to Disney music, I read comic books, storybooks, saw all the Disney films, so I had Disney in my DNA. So when Walt said he wasn't happy with the Jungle Book, I don't like this movie, I don't like what I'm seeing, people began asking, well, I don't know what Walt wants. Well, I knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted a Disney movie. Lo and behold, I knew what that was. So I think that's why I got along famously with Walt Disney.
So, but when you're hanging out with Mr. Disney, I mean, is every idea he has brilliant? Or is he throwing some stuff out there that you're even saying, whoa, that's ridiculous?
Well, number one, I didn't hang out with Walt Disney. Keep in mind that I was a kid. I was a young kid, still in my 20s, I think, and Walt was, at that time, an old gentleman. He was an older gentleman, more the age of my grandfather than anything else, so we certainly didn't hang out together. I attended meetings with Walt Disney because, after all, when the boss would call a meeting or walk into a meeting, you had to be there and pitch and deliver the goods. But what Walt knew what he wanted. You know, he knew the kind of films he wanted to show the public. He was very clear on that. He was very, he was very focused on good storytelling and good family entertainment. He knew who he was. He knew the films he was making. He knew his audience well. And so we had to just meet his expectations. And luckily, Vance and I, who doing our part on the Jungle Book, was able to deliver that. But Walt Disney, as a leader, as a visionary, as a boss, he was unparalleled. I've never worked for anybody like Mr. Disney. He was an incredible gentleman. He wasn't a perfect man by any means. He had his faults. A lot of the things he's been accused of, not true. He did probably drink too much. I know, definitely, he smoked too much. That's what killed him. But other than that, he was a great guy and a real gentleman, and I've never had a better boss.
And just nuts and bolts filmmaking, how many hours a day, let's just say, on, I mean, I guess it would vary from project to project, but you get into the office, and how many days are we working on Sleeping Beauty?
Well, you know, that's interesting. When I look at filmmaking today and the hours that are put in today, I look back when I was working with Walt Disney, and we worked a 9 to 5 pretty much. I mean, really, we came in, we worked an 8-hour day, and we went home, because Walt Disney felt that workers should spend time with their family and not stay at the office all day, and not stay at the office half the night, as they do today. It's just, that's how the world has changed. Walt Disney, I mean, it sounds corny, but he really believed employees should spend time with their family and not be at the studio day and night and weekends, as sadly often happens today. But I think that's because, you know, that's corporate America, I'm afraid.
And he drove his daughters to school every day. And I think he picked them up and took them home, too. And he had dinner with his family every night. So, I mean, I wish we could do that today, but that just doesn't really happen. But I kind of like that idea, so.
And was that for you guys, making this movie, 9 to 5?
There's a point where you like don't even clock in or clock out. It's just kind of like, you know,
Just keep going.
you just keep going.
No, well, actually, it's funny that you say that, because obviously you're doing a story about Floyd Norman. What was it filmmaking-wise? You guys have spent a lot of time with him. You've spent even more time watching the footage, building the story. As filmmakers, what have you taken from this artist that you guys just spent a couple of years of your life around the clock through osmosis? What has come through it?
Well, Floyd's been a huge inspiration to us. I mean, not only as an artist and his incredible career, but the fact that he never gives up. I mean, he's 82 years old. He's still working as an artist. He's still traveling all over the country. He's still doing work for Disney. He's doing books. He's working on projects. And that's the amazing takeaway, that no matter what, no matter the ups and downs in the industry, this is something he loves so much that he stuck with it, and he always did it. And because of that, we have all these amazing films that he's had his hand on. And the fact that he still loves it like he did when he was young, that he still loves making movies, it makes me think, well, I don't have an excuse, man. I gotta keep doing this, because if Floyd's doing it, I don't want him to get on my case that I'm not doing it, you know? So he's been a huge inspiration to me and Michael in so many ways.
Well, I mean, I have a bone to pick because apparently you have bad words about Scooby-Doo. Now, it's actually very funny because here's a cartoon that I meant so much to. I can't remember a story. I can't remember one storyline from Scooby-Doo.
It was the same story.
Right, and I can't even remember it. But the colors, the images, certain sounds. I mean, did you guys know that you were working on something that would that was working, or was it just like, what are we doing? Let me just bang this out and move on, bang this out and move on.
No, I realized that Scoob was very popular with the kids. I mean, for us, it was a job. It was a gig. You know, like we're going to do another Scooby. Back in those days, the networks would order like 16 half hours, I think, each season. But Scooby-Doo continually, you know, was a very popular show, and kids loved Scooby. We who were doing the show didn't love it that much, but hey, it was a job, so you know, you deal with it. It was kind of cool to be there with Casey Kasem, who was I believe the voice of Shaggy. I don't recall the other voice actors.
I don't either. I hated that show.
You hated it? But I know that Casey was, you know, Casey Kasem was Shaggy, you know, Zoinks, and the dog, you know, it was a very popular show.
How many seasons was that?
I think I don't even know how many seasons we did.
Well,
we
see,
did
I
a lot.
was a kid, so I was a preteen when Scooby-Doo came out. I hated that show. And when I met Floyd and he told me that he worked on Scooby, I almost didn't want to date him. That's true. I was like, I couldn't stand Scooby-Doo, and I still can't stand it.
Still popular.
Still popular. We're gonna open up. There's 1,000 questions I still want to ask, but you know what? Let's open it up to you guys. So we're gonna start right here in the middle, and I will try to say the question out loud in case anybody's.
Mr. Norman, you're an amazing storyteller and no disrespect to the filmmakers, so I imagine it must have been very easy to make this film because of your storytelling skills. Was there ever a moment in the process where the story took a turn and somehow you discovered something that you didn't know before, or I don't know.
What you mean while working on a film?
On this
Oh.
documentary.
Oh, on the documentary. No, I'm not responsible for this film. Yeah. No. I mean, basically, I just showed up. You
Was
know?
there anything that came up though during the making of the film that you thought, whoa,
I
that's a
think they switched,
curveball?
when they switched, initially I think they were kind of going for a racial thing, but then the age thing.
No, we didn't. We knew within probably the first time we sat down with Floyd. When he
he's
said
always very open about how much he loved working at Disney.
and how he basically said he didn't know he was an African American. We were like, okay, well, there goes the racial side of the story. But no, for us, we looked at it as a love letter to animation as a whole, told by. We say this lovingly, the Forrest Gump of animation, as is said in the movie. And then along the way, we started to realize that it was a movie about someone who's persevered, not through racial issues, but more through ageism, and persevered that way. So that came along pretty late in making the movie. But again, like lightning in a bottle, when there was that narrative beat, we were like, oh, well, there's our third act right there.
Yeah, ageism was the big turn, because we were, all of a sudden that became a big issue to deal with that we weren't expecting, and then when you got hired back at Disney, we were like, oh, we have an ending.
So his turmoil was like, this is great, this is great storytelling.
Actually, Michael tricked me with the ageism. Yes, you did, because Floyd had done the book, and they had told Disney and said, well, you can't have the
that chapter on
ageism.
age. Yeah.
And so I told Michael, when he asked me that, I said, don't put this in the movie. And then I'm watching the movie. Yes, I did. And then I'm watching
We have videotape. We'll play it back afterwards.
Because I did, and then when I saw it, I said, wait a minute. He said he wasn't going to put that in the movie because and then there it was.
All right, well, just to be clear here, what we're saying is that the book, An Animated Life, had come out. And
Yeah.
in that book, there was a chapter about ageism that Disney said, no, 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 no. Okay.
They didn't have a problem with the other stuff.
Right.
But they said this chapter cannot stay in the book. And so Floyd compromised and said, well, okay, I'll take it out.
Okay.
And so when Michael asked me about that, I thought he wasn't going to put that in the film. And he
Right,
did.
so that was the curveball, I think. Yes, back there.
Hi, such an awesome person, Mr. Norman. I have a question. What was your favorite period, like with all of the changes in technology in your long career, what was your favorite period along the changes in technology with your job?
Did everybody hear that question?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing. People think about maybe the 90s was the big change. But, you know, it's kind of funny. In filmmaking at Disney, the technology has always been part of the filmmaking process at Disney. I mean, keep in mind, back in the 1930s, Walt was always innovating. Walt was always trying to find ways to use new technology in his filmmaking. You know, everything was pencil and paper done by hand throughout the 1930s, through the 40s. By the time I got to the studio, the Disney studio began to experiment with the photocopy process, Xerox, and transferring our drawings from, you know, paper to sheets of acetate using Xerox. Then we began to move into painting the artwork using the computer. And then eventually by the 90s, the entire production process was digital. So, you know, it's been an ongoing thing at Disney that, you know, the technology is always evolving, always maturing, and this has been going on since the 1930s. I don't have a particular favorite period because every period is different. You just roll with the punches and you keep on going. That's why I was anxious to go up to Pixar in the late 90s, because Pixar Animation Studios, they were a fledgling studio at that time, a very small studio when I joined them. But I wanted to see where this new digital technology was going to go. So I just wanted to keep on rolling and not be left behind, but to keep pushing forward. So I don't have any favorite period. I think probably my favorite period is yet to come, because things will continue to change.
All the way in the back center waving to me, yeah.
Hi. So obviously one of the most exciting parts is how present you are in such important parts of animation history and just like American history, entertainment history too. What right now is exciting for you? Like stuff if you could just get your hands in and there wouldn't be any limitations, that would really just like take you to the moon.
Oh, the next exciting thing?
Yeah, like if you could like either if it's like any stories that you're hearing about and working with any individuals or any innovations that you're hearing about, like you were able to join in with Toy Story and stuff like that. Is there anything like right now that you're like, oh, this is it, this is the next exciting thing that I would love to be a part of?
I think my next job is the next exciting thing. That's what's great about this business, is not knowing what's coming next. And
Yeah.
so at the present time, I'm talking to a number of people, some of them independent, some of them are major studios. And we're talking about things. I don't know what's going to come of this stuff, but The cool part is if you can keep an open dialogue and you meet with production executives and you talk about stuff, who knows what the end result is going to be. So I'm very happy just to be part of this industry and to remain relevant and to continue to stay busy. I welcome any job that comes my way and any future challenges. That's what keeps me going. I have no interest in retirement. I really don't. I have an interest in the next thing that's going to happen, whatever that next thing is going to be.
And I don't know if anybody follows his blog or his Facebook page, but what I'm always blown away by is he'll do these beautiful hand-drawn watercolors, and then you'll jump on a Cintiq the same day and do like something on the Cintiq, and it might be even like a slightly different style of drawing. I mean, there are artists in their 30s and 40s that can't think that.
And now he's learning a new program. He's
what's
learning
that?
TV Paint.
Yeah, I've been using a French animation program called TV Paint because unlike the digital animation we see currently that all of the majors are doing, in this new application TV Paint, you can actually draw. I mean, literally draw into the computer, not move the cyber puppet as we see today in all of the films made by Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, moving the cyber puppet, but you can actually pick up a stylus and draw into the computer. You are actually drawing. So it's kind of like a perfect blending of old school and new school being brought together. So these are the exciting things that are happening today, and so this is what keeps me fascinated by this amazing business I'm in.
Yes.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Mr. Norman, because hand-drawn animation is like one of my biggest passions. And I love the part of the documentary at the end where you see the 101 Dalmatian short, which was done in traditional animation. With this TV Paint, do you think we're going to eventually see the return of a hand-drawn style on the big screen again? Because it's something that I know I've missed, and I think a lot of fans have really missed over the years.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. Keep in mind that one of the finest traditional animators working today, Glenn Keane, just won the Academy Award for Best Animated Short with his Dear Basketball, won the Oscar not that long ago. A film that was completely hand-drawn animation. So I'm hoping that films like this will spur a return to hand-drawn animation. Andreas Deja is busily completing his hand-drawn animated film, a project he's working on his own as an independent producer. He wanted to do something at Disney, and they just didn't seem interested in any hand-drawn product. So Andreas was able to go out and do it on his own. So this encourages me for the future that hand-drawn animation is still alive and well.
I was going to say, then look at Loving Vincent, which was also up for Best Animated Film, and that was all done in oil paints. It was almost like stop motion, and the painters painted it, you know, traditionally, and then they just photographed it, and the whole movie is hand painted. So it's almost like people are saying, let's try something different. If we have to do a hybrid of 2D and 3D, I don't see why not. I think that it's open. I think it's whatever anybody can make work. That's how I look at it.
And the gentleman with the beard, we have one more question right there with the blue shirt. Yeah.
Hi guys, thank you so much for bringing the film and showing it in New York. I actually did one of the short animations in the documentary, so it was cool seeing it on the big screen.
Which one?
Dude, thank you.
The one where he's like drawing really angry, the angry Mickey Mouse. Like,
That's yours?
Yeah.
Holy smoke.
Give him a hand. Thank you for helping us out.
Thank you.
So
Or
really
invented the
quickly,
animators.
my question is for you, Floyd. What do you think about the animation industry now, where a lot of animation work is being outsourced to like China or Philippines? So like big studios like Disney, they do everything in-house, but a lot of TV and movies, because it's cheaper, it's all being outsourced. Like, what do you think about all that happening?
Yeah. You know, it's amazing. Yeah, a lot of work is being outsourced, but I have to remind young animation hopefuls that there's still plenty of work in this country. I mean, keep in mind that a lot of the work done at Disney is all done in-house as far as their feature films. Same with DreamWorks and with Sony and Pixar. All that work is being done in-house. A lot of the TV work is being outsourced. I think it's because, well, once again, number one, it's cheaper. But a big factor is they simply don't have the personnel. Believe it or not, they don't have enough people to do all of that animation here in America. So out of necessity, they have to outsource it. It just shows how much animation is being done. I don't know if that many animators who have skills that are needed today are out of work. It seems to me most of the people I know are employed. They're working somewhere, they're working on some project because there's so much animation being done, both for the big screen and for the small screen. And even now at Disney, where we're moving into animation for the internet, a brand new platform that's going to, I think, play a major role in the upcoming years. So I think the future is very exciting.
Okay, and to wrap it up in 10 words or less, each of you, to wrap it up, if you were to pull what I would call the master image, one frame from this movie that represents what this film and what this experience has meant to you guys, what is that frame? And you got 10 seconds. Ready? You go first.
Go first. Okay.
That's really hard.
Actually, you know what? There's one shot in the movie where he's doing quick draw, and Floyd just looks up what he drew, and he's smiling and he's giggling, just like, oh, I drew something really funny, and it just makes me so happy because you see the kid in Floyd is still there.
There you go. That was really good.
I'm
thinking on the spot here. But I love the moment where the two of you are on the Walt Disney bench in the museum and Andy is taking the photo. Just, it's a great little moment, little tableau.
There's so many, but for me, it's when he says that's the devil's birthday. And for me, that is just because it's the way he says it, and the pie did keep going, and I just thought that is so Floyd. I just love that part.
Yeah, a moment for me. I think one of the first scenes we shot was me sitting at that Disney animation desk. I think that was probably scene number one. I was sitting at a Disney animation desk, one of the old vintage desks at the Disney studio, and I just started drawing, and the cameras were rolling. I remember at the time, there were 2 cameras at the time, getting different angles, and I was at that Disney drawing board, beginning to sketch, you know, funny cartoons, and we were starting making this movie. And that's how it began, and for me, that's the moment, that's that beginning. Every film has a beginning. That was the beginning of this film, and boy, at that time, who knew where it would go? But very exciting.
Ladies and gentlemen, Floyd, Adrian, Uncle Art, the artist behind this film, thank you for coming tonight.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Chris.
Good.
Hey, is the person who wanted Pluto here tonight? I brought Pluto. Is that you? Yeah. Okay, I've got him.
Aw.
Oh, what if he's not the person?
We're all the person.